I'm with the Oregon Coalition Against Domestic and Sexual Violence. The Oregon Coalition Against Domestic and Sexual Violence advocates on behalf of the community-based local programs throughout the state, of which there are more than 50 that go across the state. Our undertaking is to support the local domestic and sexual violence programs through providing technical assistance, public education, training, systems advocacy, and support. So that's what the coalition does. Another vital piece to what we do is we really strive to ensure that the voices of domestic and sexual violence survivors or victims are heard, and that their experience informs all the work that we do, both in our local programming and services that we hope to happen across the state. There are domestic and sexual violence coalitions in every single one of the 50 states and U.S. territories. And we've all seen an increase in need for services for survivors. Only 15% of these coalitions across the nation did not report an increase in demand for services. And this rings true in Oregon as well. We know that in the last decade, more than 206 Oregonians have died due to intimate partner violence. Almost 70% of the deaths, about 140, have happened within the past 4 years. A recent CDC study found that Oregon has one of the highest rates of sexual assault in the nation. We also know that Oregon's children witness 33% of intimate partner physical assaults, and that in 2011, over 20,500 requests for emergency shelter from violence couldn't be met in Oregon. That's more than 2 unmet requests every hour, every day of the entire year. So where do these folks go? Do they find safety under a bridge? Do they find it camping? Do they need to stay in their car? And these are not very safe options, but very real options when their homes are not are so dangerous and our fatalities in our state are so high. Domestic and sexual violence services are life-saving, community-based programs. They provide emergency shelter and housing options, safety planning, counseling support groups, medical accompaniment, and legal advocacy. We know that these are vital services, and they're very strong in all the communities that you come from, and strengthen those communities as well. A recent Johns Hopkins study found that the nonprofit domestic and sexual violence services reduce re-assault by nearly 70%. And the domestic and sexual violence programs throughout Oregon, including tribal communities, strengthen the community by not only assisting victims as they face the trauma inflicted upon them, but also by participating as a critical part to the multidisciplinary responses. Please add an additional $4 million to this fund when you're crafting and recommending this budget. The cost of doing so is simply too great, and the opportunity is here now.